Awesome.
Speaking of Arbiter, a couple questions related to Citadels here, just some fast ones. Are Copper Citadels really the same spawn rate as all the others? That's what happened?
I mean, we generated a bunch of Atlas state and checked that they were equivalent. I mean, I don't know what to we really were not intending to make a Monopoly game, McDonald's Monopoly game style thing here. It really was intended to be equal. So yeah, as far as we could tell, it was just the just that the boss had that exploding minion thing that was the damage just busted on that?
Nah, well, maybe, but
that's a bug.
All of his little attached zombies, like during the phase 1 of the fight, when he summons the sandstorm and you get protected and you have the zombies coming at you, they blow up after they die. And in the map version, the in-game version of this fight, some logic was missing. I don't know what happened. And those would then explode at the end of the phase 2. So you'd be like, oh, I killed him, you run in to get your loot, and 8 zombies just explode and insta-kill you. And so what you found is a whole bunch of people were just straight up, succeeding at the fight and then just dying straight afterwards.
I watched a video of that today.
So that accounted for some portion of it. And then he was just harder. Certainly the death rate, even excluding the one-shotting zombies, was just much, much higher than the other two. But yeah, we have now a cheat that generates or simulates generating, I think it's 1 billion different blocks and calculates how many of every map spawned and everything like that just to test this specific Citadel case. And yeah, everything we could find generates exactly the correct amount of the 3 things. So the 3 Citadels.
Speaking of spawning Citadels, did you guys happen to catch any of the conspiracy theories related to, corpses pointing in directions, etc.?
It was so ridiculous. Whatever. People come up with crazy things. I don't know.
Bro.
Yeah,
all right.
I can tell you. I see. The thing is, I'm tempted to actually do something weird like that now, just to to bait the conspiracies. But yeah, no, there was nothing weird going on there.
It's just RNG.
It's just RNG. That's all it is.
It said closer to the center.
Confirmation bias.
To being farther away from your spawn point.
So, but basically, all that is literally just that where you start, there's just a radius you have to get to before they start spawning. But after that point, it's just...
Did I not say exactly that, bro?
And we just moved it
when
closer
we were watching a conspiracy video?
You can't really tell, where the... That's not obvious, right? And the main thing we want to do there is just not have a Citadel spawn right next to where you start, because that'd be ridiculous. So effectively we just shrunk that down a bit because it was a little bit large. And then the other thing as well is that now that you can see them on the fog, it actually makes them so much easier to find. We actually intended, we were like, oh yeah, we're going to totally buff the number of these that there are. But after we made the change to seeing them in the fog, it was immediately like, oh shit, there's actually tons of these everywhere. We just weren't seeing them before. Seeing them makes a big difference.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on, off the topic of Arbiter instead of those here. It mentioned in the video less bad mods on mobs. Can we get some more detail?
Sorry, it wasn't mobs. I think because it was in the item section and maybe you misheard that slightly, but the bad mods thing was talking about items. So effectively, there's some stuff going on here. So effectively what we did, because a lot of people were talking about issues with higher tier rares as you get to harder content. And effectively, when we sort of looked into this, we sort of worked out, there were some anomalies around what happens when mods get cut out on the lower levels, just based on kind of somewhat random things about how many top tier mods there are of certain types and things like that. So what we've done is it's not huge changes, but we've kind of effectively done things I think accuracy went down a little bit, and there was I can't remember the other change.
Accuracy went down, life on kill, mana on kill, on weapons at least,
Holy.
And then attributes on hybrid gear.
Yeah, that's right.
I
the
just deleted all my
hybrid gear attributes.
castles.
And then there was also the bug where effectively high tier rares weren't getting the ability to generate top T1 mods of certain types, which I don't think was actually necessarily as big of a deal as what people might have assumed, but because it wouldn't have affected that many items, but we have fixed it. So, for example, it was just impossible on a T5 bow to ever get attack speed.
Once it was a certain item level.
Once it was a certain item level. So yeah, but you couldn't even get T5 realistically except from high level stuff, right?
You still could
occasionally, but whatever. The point is there was a few things like that that were going on, and we've effectively just adjusted that stuff, and it should result in generally better rares when you're talking about
fix the tiers,
high tier stuff. So we'll just sort of see how that works out. The adjustments are not mega, but they are there, and they should sort of improve things, I think, a little bit.
And just for clarity's sake for the viewers, when you say top tier, tier 1, you actually mean tier 12 or whatever the top tier is, right? Because tier 1 technically is the worst.
Sorry, yeah,
Fix it!
It's so annoying that we have like tiers going in reverse direction.
Yeah, it is annoying.
But yes, what I mean is whatever the top tier of that mod is, in some cases it was
Fix
getting
it.
cut out. In fact, I worry that even in the article that we're going to say that's actually incorrect. So I just need to fix that because I think in the article that we posted it says T1 item affixes, which is actually backwards. So I need to go and fix that after we've done this.
We also need to make this consistent everywhere and sort this tiered situation out.
Yeah, I do have a follow-up on that.
Yeah.
It is sometimes very frustrating dropping something that has a high tier, but I don't know if that is the highest tier. Would it be possible? Like, is there something you guys are considering adding?
I think we are adding a thing that displays on the mod if it is the best tier relatively soon. But again, we need to also just figure out a little bit more around this because we've got this whole T1 versus random
the reason why there is resistance to having T1 mean the top one is because then if we add another one later, it changes what all the tiers
it's
are.
fine.
And there was sort of some discomfort around that, but then maybe it's still better to just do that anyway. I'm like, I don't know. That was the original thinking behind that, but whatever. It might be less confusing if T1 meant. No, because the thing is, the other thing as well is that map tiers are like the T1 is the bottom one again, and you certainly wouldn't want to reverse that. That would be weird. So yeah, I don't know. Like probably. Yeah, whatever. This is just a random small topic, but just one of those things.
Understood.
Yeah.
Speaking of items and quality, one of the most requested additions, item filters, coming to console. So I'm sure many people are very excited about that. Speaking of the topic of consoles, can we expect more quality of life things coming to console? For instance, I very commonly see asked for things like text UI size, etc. Do you have any plans related to quality of life improvements on console?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly need to do more there. I mean, yeah, like I don't have any specific things to announce there, but effectively we need to make sure that that experience is good. And one thing that I know,
console team,
this isn't actually technically a console thing, but another thing that we will be doing for people who use controller soon is like the ability to fast swap between controller and the PC UI just by like immediately in game, because that's something
last time,
I believe there was even an implementation of that. It was just a little bit too dodgy to release on early access start. So we just need to get that sorted and then test and sort of that. So that'll be another one. But in terms of just general console stuff, I mean, look, there's just more we can do, right? And you know, we've got our guys on console. They'll be looking into these things and just making changes. The text size one, I do think needs some addressing. It's a little bit tricky because there's kind of a lot of things all through the game that need like futzing around with. So that I definitely appreciate that. And like part of that is literally because when we're in this is kind of bad, but it's like in the studio, we literally have like a big screen and the couch that's near it is like relatively close. It's like an actual real world scenario. You know, people often sit a bit further away. We probably should have been thinking about that. Yeah. Yeah, things like that just need some addressing for sure.
Fair enough.
All right. Putting aside bugs and tuning that is expected for early access state, what's a question I was asking about? What are the players' feedback that surprised you guys the most?
Well, I know you were saying, I mean, I guess from my perspective, it's like we had a lot of worries about things being broken. We just didn't know what those things were going to be. But then you were saying before that just the level of brokenness that surprised you as far as like some character builds and stuff, right?
Yeah, like I had my whole like, okay, obviously people are going to find broken builds, but like we escaped millions into tens of millions, and then we escaped tens of millions into hundreds of millions in measuring in DPS, and then we escaped DPS into comets per